Hello and welcome back to Open Hwoarang Lessons. This is now renamed to Talon 101, so feel free to subscribe for future lessons along the way. This will be a basic guide. It's supposed to pick you off your feet on how to play Hwoarang in Tekken 8. And the first thing we want to cover are his stances. You already know this is a stance-based character with a lot of stance, you can see that with his leg up, his right leg up, his left leg up, left leg facing the opponent, right leg facing the opponent, back turn. And then, you can do all of it in back turn. So it's a little bit crazy, but we're going to keep it really, really simple. So we're going to focus on 4 stances. I'm going to be using the abbreviations more often than the actual word, just so that, it's easier to say a lot of the moves and scenarios. Again, this is LFF. This is your default stance. This is where you're going to be doing most of your moves and most of your movement. And you can block in this stance. That's the main thing. The next stance is right foot forward. Naturally, his right leg is facing the opponent. And you can also block in this stance and move. You can only move back and forth. If you do sidestep, you get out of right foot forward and go back to left foot forward. So just take note of that. The next one is left flamingo stance. This is where his left leg is up and he gets access to a specific set of moves. Same thing applies to right flamingo stance. A specific set of moves, and his right leg is up. Now, in both flamingo stances, left and right, you cannot block in these stances. So if you'd like to protect yourself, you would have to press, a power crush. And we'll get to those moves shortly. The first one we're gonna tackle is left foot forward. In left foot forward, you're gonna have to remember a total of 13 moves. I'm gonna list these moves one by one, and why you should remember them. The first one is 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 4. This is gonna be like your main starter kit, or starter to pressure in Flamingo, whether that be a block or on hit. This move is plus 12 for both and plus 3 for both on block. And that's enough frames to cover you to do a lot of things. So if you get it on hit, easily you could cover yourself with LFS 1, or if you want to use a mid, LFS forward 3, and even start up with down D4, because that's where all the mind games come from. For right Flamingo, you can cover yourself with RFS 2, you can do RFS 3, 4, and then of course RFS down 4, 3. Very, very valuable. The next one, if you want to keep your jab strings very, very simple and you don't want to risk entering Flamingo, or if you didn't punish an opponent to get your plus 12, you could do something like 1, 2, forward 3, which will leave you at -8 with enough space. So if they do whiff here, you can 1, 2, forward 3. There you go. You can get a punish. The next move after 1, 2, forward 3 would be 1, 2, F4. So this gives you more pushback and is less negative on block. So this is -8. This is -2. Of course, this can be ducked. That's fine. You just mix it up with 1, 2, forward 3. So if they do get hit by 1, 2, F4, your follow-up is F3, 3. So that's for the highs. Now for the mids, you're gonna need to remember DF1. This is your fastest mid that is safe on block. It is -1 and plus 6 on hit. This is if you just need something fast. That's its main purpose. And then the next fastest mid beside it would be DF3 plus 4. This is a heat engager. Very, very important if you want to, of course, get into heat. And it is your 13-frame punisher. Main 13-frame punisher. Moving from DF3 plus 4, which was your second fastest mid, is DF2. This is your natural hitting launcher. Safe natural hitting launcher at -7. You want to throw this out if you want to get a launch. So you could do something like 1, 2, forward 3, as I did earlier. Back up a little bit into that DF2. That's great. And of course, maybe after DF1, sidestep DF2, that could work too. The only thing you gotta remember about this move is that it does not launch someone who is crouching. As you can see, you only get plus 4 frames. This isn't bad. You can still DF4 to lock them in, or DF1, or even DF3 plus 4, you can take the risk, take a read, a hard read. Now, if you do have an opponent that is crouching, hit back 3. This is your 16-frame launcher that hits from a mile away. This is also your main whiff punisher, true. Same. It is also your main whiff punisher too. Now, the only thing that you gotta worry about back 3 is that it is -19 on block. So if this does get blocked, just know that you hold back. That way, if they do mess up the punish, you're fine. What's the chances of them messing up the punish? Quite low, but I'm willing to gamble with those odds. The next thing you need to remember is your power crush. That is DF3, 4. This can be cancelled, DF3. You hold forward right after it, but we're not going to cover that. We're not going to go into any detail about DF3 forward. Just know that your power crush is DF3, 4. This is semi-hit confirmable. As you can see, I'm going to press DF3 and then press 4 right after. You can delay it a little bit. As you can see, block also this is kind of hit confirmable, but it is far more confirmable if your opponent challenges you. So let's say in a scenario like you're gonna enter Flamingo, 1, 2, 3 into DF3. If you see the screen zoom in, you can mash the 4 right afterwards. That's like the main value of this move. It did get nerfed into -14 though. Don't worry about that though. I mean, this is basically back to its Tekken 7 state. The next thing you need to remember is your homing move. This is your homing move from left foot forward. It's gonna be your best friend in so many scenarios, and as you level up as a Hwoarang player, DF4. This is a 16 frame homing move that is +8 on hit and, well, -8 on block, which is fine. Main purpose, I mean, it's naturally to keep someone who's stepping. So a scenario to cover it would be something like DF1 into DF4. So if the opponent does attempt to step right after your DF1, because they could step the DF1 afterwards, you can tell them, hey, you can't do that, and DF4. And the last thing, last mid that you're gonna remember in left foot forward is back 1. Why do you want to remember this move? This is because this is your 15 frame panic move. Leaves you at -1 and is also as risky as DF3-4. It is also -14 on block. So this is only when you are tired of guessing whatever the opponent's doing and you just hit this back 1. It has an inbuilt sidestep, right? So you're gonna be avoiding a lot of things, provided you have space to sidestep towards the right. So like, to show you a scenario of what you could avoid. So let's say the opposing Hwoarang does a 1, 2, 3 into LFS1, and you're tired of guessing, basic. Or you can let them 1, 2, back 1, out. So that finishes up all the mids you need to remember in left foot forward. Let's talk about lows. You only need to remember 3 lows in left foot forward. He has more than 3 lows in left foot forward, but we're gonna keep it to 3. Again, it's like a very basic guide. First move is down 3-4. This is like your biggest low. It does 20 damage, +14. And you could like default to RFS 3-4, RFS 2, or like RFS DF4. And then if you want to do a low, naturally you can do the Hell Sweep, down 4-3. This is mainly to like mix them up. So if you get the DF1, let's say they don't backdash on hit on the DF1, you can hit them with the down 3-4, perfect. Or you can 1, 2, 3 into down 3-4. Again, this down 3-4, you can do it from all stances except right Flamingo. So if you're in left foot forward, down 3-4. If you're in right foot forward, down 3-4. And if you're in LFS, down 3-4. The only thing you have to worry about down 3-4 is that if the opponent does duck the second hit, you can no longer protect yourself with either RFS F4 or RFS back 4, provided like, let's say their punish is a little bit slow. So again, if they block the first hit, that is an instant launch. Or at least that's like the worst case scenario. Again, if they're a little bit late, they can still get hit by it, as I'm getting hit right now. But if they do time this correctly, right after blocking the first one, it's over. To show it with RFS back 4 is your second follow-up. Demonstrate. Again, late. That's while standing 3, that's a frame faster. That's still while standing 3, a frame faster. There you go. That's like the only thing you have to worry about. So if you don't want to do down 3-4 and you don't want to incur that risk, no matter how good the mix-up is, now you can go to down back 4. Now you can do down back 4-4. This is a low-high that counter hits on hit into an FF3. That's a lot of damage. And if you don't like the FF3, you can turn that into Oki by doing backseat. They'll flip over, and of course you move forward, and you get a down 3-4 mix-up, down 3-4 DF4 mix-up. This can also enter Flamingo, but we're not gonna talk about that. Not in this guide. So you can throw this out. This doesn't jail, so they can duck it. And you can just throw out the first one and test them for it, right? Just like that. This is also probably one of your safest lows in his arsenal, because it is only -12 on block, which means you're only eating a while standing 4 most of the time from the rest of the cast. The last low is your high crushing low. You're gonna need a high crushing low, and that's down back 3's job. This comes out at 19 frames. It's -1. If you do want to press a button right after it, I highly recommend a down jab rather than while standing 4, because it will come out at 12 frames. So at least this one comes out at 11 frames. And it's also -13 on block. A little bit safe, but of course, depending on the characters you're playing against, you could also get launched for this low. But you still need it, because if you are doing a jab string and you want to like avoid high right after it, or you want to safely poke with a low that wasn't down back 4 because it doesn't high crush, then yeah, you down back 4. Now, if this move does happen on counter hit, based on the kit we have now, or like all the moves I've mentioned, you could crouch cancel DF4, but if that's a little bit too tough for you, you can always default to while standing 4-4, and that's completely fine. And speaking of while standing 4-4, we're gonna go to his while standing moves. These are part of left foot forward, but I did separate it because you do have to be from crouching. So the first one again is while standing 4-4. This is +4 on hit. This is gonna be every time you block a low, this is your go-to punish. This is what you should always do every time you block a low. For as long as it doesn't stagger. What do I mean by stagger? If you haven't seen what a stagger animation is, it looks something like this. Like that. That's when you throw out your while standing 2-3. So any low that looks like this, that's when you throw out while standing 2-3. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So again, while standing 4-4 for any low that you block, it's going to be very, very reliable. And it's also safe on block at -5. So you incur no penalty for wanting to throw out this move all the time. And if you do get the hit, you're +4, you transition to right foot forward. And from here, you can check your opponent with RFF DF4, RFF2, and maybe an RFF down 3-4. That's like your mix-up for all those three when you get this on hit. Now, of course, it's all about while standing 2-3. As you saw earlier, this is your launch punisher for stagger lows. And at the same time, it does combo immediately. And the combo isn't that good, or rather, it's weaker compared to up back 3-3 back in Tekken 7. However, the combo is pretty simple. All you gotta do is while standing 2-3, up forward 3+4 forward, and just hold it. Loop it until you get 11 hits, and you'll get 43 damage and a long wall carry. Again, its main purpose is to be a punisher. However, if you do want to throw it out, this is +3 on block. So it has the same scenarios as 1-2-3 on block. So that's all the left foot forward moves you need to remember. That's a total of 15 moves. I'm gonna have it on screen when this, of course, does get edited. 15 moves that you have to remember. Let's move on to right foot forward. And of course, the fastest way you can enter right foot forward from left foot forward would be doing 1-2-4 and letting the foot go down, DF4, and of course, RFS2. And that's something off like down 3-4 RFS2 or 1-2-4 RFS2. So once you're here, the best thing that you can do, or rather the first high moves that you're going to start to remember, just like left foot forward, is RFF2 and RFF2-4. Now, these two moves are a little bit different. Now, first, RFF2 is +8 on hit. It's the same as a regular jab, right? However, this is +2 on block. This is the superior jab, as we like to call it, compared to a regular jab, which is +1. So you have more leeway to throw out other moves, like DF4 or DF1. Now, this move can also enter right flamingo, for as long as you do RFF2-4 and then hold forward. And if you do get it on hit, that is +15. That is a lot of frames. And if you do it on block, you're +4 to continue pressuring with RFS F4. We're gonna go to mids, and the first mid, just like a 13 frame mid in LFF and DF1, the one in RFF that you need to remember is DF4. Now this is 13 on hit, +5 on hit, +5 on block, and then of course on counter hit, you get something guaranteed, which is RFS F4. Yes, I know that you can get RFF 2-3, but we're not going to cover that here. So like, let's say you do get while standing 4-4 on hit, you can check them with a DF4 because you're +4 in that scenario. And this will come out way faster than any button that they could press, provided it's not an evasive move, of course. And of course, if they are attempting to step at that point, this is when you're going to have to remember the next move. This is your homing move from right foot forward. That's DF3. This long-reaching mid. Like, look how far he jumps. It's crazy. It's also your heat engager. So as soon as you get it, you're +6. Provided, of course, it's not you have spent heat already. And on block, this move is also +1. So now you can easily loop that with an RFF2 right afterwards, pretty safely. And then if your opponent's thinking too much, RFF DF4 would be the way to go. In terms of lows, you don't have to remember much. Simply because you might have seen it earlier, I can do DF1 from RFF. So most of the moves, or most of your mids and lows from left foot forward can be done from RFF. Like down back 3, that input is RFF down back 3. You can do down back 4. You can do down 3-4, slightly different animation. DF1, DF2, DF3+4. If you want to do DF3-4, you'd have to do DF2+3. A little bit weird why they made it DF2+3, but I digress. Of course, the only other mids that you cannot do from right foot forward would be back 3 and back 1. You cannot do that here. If I attempt back 1, you're gonna get RFF 1, and if I attempt back 3, you're gonna get RFF back 3. But that's okay. And this is one asterisk we need to talk about: RFF down 3. If you do down 3 from LFS or left foot forward, he remains in LFF. However, if you do it from RFF, he enters back turn. But just know that if you press the first hit by itself, you are negative 11 on block if they block it, and 0 on hit. But of course, if you do the full thing, it's more or less the same move. It just does 3 more damage, has the same stuff on block, yada yada yada. So that's covered LFF and RFF. We're gonna now move to LFS. Again, you can enter this by doing moves that put you there, like 1, 2, 3. And the one thing you're gonna need to remember is LFS 1. This is a very, very important jab, because this is +7 on hit and +5 on block. And this allows you to start up a lot of things. So I say you do 1, 2, 3 into LFS 1. You can follow it up with another 1, 2, 3 into an LFS 1. Because they can't interrupt your jabs right after, you know, the Flamingo jab, LFS 1. If you want to check with a mid, you can throw out DF2. Or if you want to like mix them up, you can hit with down 3, 4 right afterwards. Or if you can be like really, really safe, DF1. Now, of course, we do need another mid in left Flamingo. So let's say you get 1, 2, 3 on hit. You're going to throw out LFS 3. And now you're going to need LFS 3 because this move is a heat engager. Just like RFF DF3 and DF3 +4. So if it does connect, you enter heat and you're not going to remain in stance. However, if you don't have heat or if this move does get blocked, you will remain in left Flamingo. And this is going to be +4 on block, and you can keep yourself safe by throwing out LFS 1 for the most part. The next move is down 3, 4. Again, you can do it from 3 stances. This is mainly for mixing. Same stuff as mentioned earlier. This is just like your main low if you're in left Flamingo stance. Now we're gonna move to RFS. And the first move in right Flamingo you need to remember is RFS F4. Why RFS F4? Because this is 8 frames. As you can see in the attack startup frames, you're seeing 8 and 10. The second kick comes out at 10 frames. The first kick comes out at 8 frames. Very, very important. Like if you're gonna throw out 1, 2, 4 into right Flamingo, your opponent can't jab interrupt this at all. Compared to doing 1, 2, 3 into LFS 1, you'll jab trade with an opponent. So it is 0 on hit and +2 on hit, making another RFS F4 your next safest thing. So it's only when the opponent starts hesitating a lot, that's when you hit them with an RFS 2. And then you get the reset and you can do many, many, many things that should work, which will, again, we'll go in later into this video. Of course, I did mention RFS 2 is same dice as LFS 1. The only difference is this moves put you in RFF. But if you do want to like run safer options, naturally, you can do stuff like DF1. You can do DF2 right after it, so on and so forth. It's just that you do get access to RFS now, or RFF moves. So if you do know your opponent's gonna press, you could hit them with RFF DF4 counter hit confirm into RFS F4. So for RFS mids, the first one is a newly added one. This is RFS 3-4. This is Flying Eagle from left foot forward, but we're only going to remember it in right Flamingo for now because this move is now 16 frames. If it does connect, that's great, 32 damage, natural hitting. And if it does get blocked, you're 100% safe. This also does low crush, by the way. So if the opponent does attempt to down jab your Flamingo, let's say on block, if they do bother to attempt, you win instantly. Now, if they aren't looking to challenge your Flamingo, then that's when we start to remember RFS DF4. This is +1 on block, very advantageous. So this is your best way to earn more plus frames right afterwards. And if it does connect on hit, you can lock them with a DF4 since it's +8 and does recover them in like force crouch. That's like your best bet. Of course, you can also throw out DF2. Take your pick. Now, this move does counter hit launch. And when you do get it, you can have like a basic combo, like down 4-4, into forward 2, like so. The last one you'll need to remember in RFS is down 4-3. This is your stagger low. It's also probably your power low. This does 27 damage and is -1 on hit. However, if you do get blocked, again, you die. There's no escaping it. This does have a full string though. And the last hit isn't guaranteed. And again, they can block it, duck it rather, because it does not jail on hit. This is only a counter hit string, and that's a ton of damage when it does counter hit. So that covers all the moves you need to remember. Let's talk about punishers. These are moves you already know, so if you do punish something that is negative 14 and below. So 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4 are your main punishers. Anytime you block something. That way you can start up into the, the left flamingo moves, the right flamingo moves. You can hit them with the mix, hit them with the down 3, 4, etc. Now, if they are launch punishable at 15 to 16 frames, if they're at 15 frames, you're punishing them with DF2, provided the move doesn't recover in crouching, right? And if it is 16 frames and above, you're gonna hit them with back 3. And of course, if they are whiffing from like range 3 and above, back 3 will always punish them for it. Of course, you can always opt for DF3 plus 4 as well. Those are your standing punishers. Now let's talk about your crouching punishers or while standing punishers. Pretty sure I mentioned it earlier as we were discussing the while standing moves. Just to reiterate, again, anytime you block a low, while standing 4-4. This is for 11 frames all the way up to 14 frames. You will not punish something that's negative 10 with this. However, even if you block something that's negative 10, it doesn't hurt to check the opponent with a while standing 4-4. Again, because you're safe on block. Now, again, if the move does stagger on block, you hit them with this and be on your way with your basic combo. So now let's talk about the flow. Again, there's a lot of moves. I'm pretty sure I went way ahead of schedule with a lot of these things. So it's just like you're confused. How do I connect a lot of these moves together? So let's start with, in left foot forward. I have 5 examples for you. The first one would be like 1, 2, 3. So if you do punish an opponent with 1, 2, 3, you can lock them with LFS 1, right? So if it goes on hit, you're plus 12. They can't interrupt you with 1, 2, 3. And you hit them with a DF2 because you're now plus 5 on block. Of course, if they do get hit, then yeah, you're plus 7. So that's one frame trap or flow you could use with all like the LFF moves The next one is 1, 2, 4. Same thing. You go into RFS 2. And instead of doing DF2, well, I mean, you could opt to DF2. You could literally make it a mirror. You can use the RFF move in RFF DF4. And then you put that into, you go into RFS and then you can hit it with RFS F4, reset back to RFS 2. So you can connect those two together. And you'll get something like that, maybe. The other one is when you start pressuring with a low. So you hit them with down 3, 4, and then you throw out RFS DF4, and let's assume this gets blocked. And then now you can check them with a 1, 2 afterwards. So let's say down 3, 4, RFS DF4 gets blocked, then you can 1, 2 forward 3, or you can even 1, 2 F4, right? Now if we take the previous knowledge earlier, down 3, 4, RFS DF4, 1, 2, 3, LFS 1, and then BF2. Yeah, a lot of these can get interchanged with one another. Let's start, let's say if you do it from RFF, right? You do RFF 2, 4, forward, and then you do RFS F4, and then they're standing up, right? Hit them with down 4, 3. Then yeah, again, if you want to press a button afterwards, hit them with a down jab. So if we connect that with the other knowledge that we already know, so RFF 2, 4, RFS F4, RFS 2, and then right, again, you can do down 3, 4 from RFS 2. Let's repeat that sequence. RFS 2, 4, RFS F4, RFS 2, RFF down 3, 4, RFS DF4, 1, 2, 3, LFS 1, 1, 2, 4. Yeah, there we go. It just keeps going, just keeps going. Last, this is the last other sequence to demonstrate LFS forward 3 on block into another LFS forward 3. And then you can loop that into LFS 1. And then, again, with all the knowledge you already know at this point, so LFS forward 3, LFS forward 3, LFS 1, LF 1, 2, 3, LFS 1, down 3, 4, RFS D4, 1, 2, 4, RFS 2, so on and so forth. Yes, that was as simple as I could make it. We're almost done with this basic guide. Let's talk about heat, because we didn't touch on it enough. If you do DF3 plus 4, LFS forward 3, or RFF DF3, these aren't all his heat engagers, but these are the 3 out of the 5 heat engagers that you are going to be using at the start. Here's what you should be doing right after you get a heat engager. So let's say again, it connects. You either want to be going for DF2. If they press a button, this will launch them, right? So again, to demonstrate, we're gonna have them press a button right over here. You hit DF2, boom. Now let's say that they're not gonna press a button, right? Your 50-50 mix-up here at this point would be down 3, 4. So you have a launcher or a low-high string that's gonna go back to all the flow we mentioned earlier when you hit them with a down 3, 4, RFS DF4, 1, 2, blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, your heat is active at this point, and Hwoarang does get 3 main bonuses when he has heat active. The first one is your hell sweep now is natural. This whole thing no longer requires a counter hit. However, you do eat up a lot of the heat meter. As you can see here, we're gonna go straight for it. Eat up a lot. That's a huge chunk. So more or less, you're only gonna be doing this like twice. If you did it off a heat engager, if you're gonna do it off heat burst, then you can only do it once. But we're not covering heat burst here. You're only gonna be activating heat through a heat engager. The next buff he gets when heat is active is RFS F44. This is natural now. I know I didn't talk about the second hit earlier for RFS F44. That's because just like the Hell Sweep, it's only natural on counter hit. Like so. So if it's not crouching block, even if they get hit, they can duck it. Same dice. But if you have heat active, these two moves, you don't even have to worry if it's counter hit or not. Let's say you don't want to do the other two options, right? You could always do a heat engager and hold forward right after it. If you do that, you get a heat dash. And off DF3 plus 4, that's going to be a slump. If it was off RFF DF3, that's going to be a launcher. And if that's off LFS forward 3, that's also a launcher. But yeah, those are like the three things you could do when heat is active. And you can apply that on top of like the many mix-ups you can do right after a heat engager goes in. So now we can like focus, like after down 3-4, we can go focus, hit them with this. Or after a heat engager, we can focus on trying to get them hit with this. Or we can play very, very safe. Of course, that means spending your whole meter, but that's fine by going for a heat dash right afterwards. That works too. And of course, if you do get that, your follow-up is FF3. Like so. Now we're going to talk about basic combos. You're going to have to remember at least, well, 5, because while standing 2-3 was its own combo, right? So let's talk about if you get a launch off DF2 or if you get a launch off back 3. You want to do the following. That was DF2, forward 2, RFF forward 3, LFS 2, down 4, run up, LFS forward 1, 2, 3, LFS forward 3. This gives you 57 damage. It's decent enough to start out with. Not the best, but decent. Of course, if you get while standing 2-3, up forward 2 plus 4 forward. So one way to beat the timing is to hold forward right after. So after you hold forward in while standing 2-3, that's when you can get all this. That's 10 hits, 41 damage. The next one that you need to remember is of course the counter hit RFS F44, or if you get it on hit, natural hit on heat. So that's RFS 3-4, RFS back 4. That's it. Aside from, of course, RFS F44, the one you want to remember is off RFS DF4, down 4-4, forward 2, forward 3, LFS forward 3. Last one you need to remember is low parry. If you do low parry an opponent and you get this little animation, you will do the same combo you do with DF2, except you will not get the tornado off it because you already spent the tornado. But that's fine. We're just after getting consistent damage, and that's good. 34 damage to rock with. Now, what if you get the wall? Let's say you get a wall combo. How much more damage can you do at a basic level? So we're gonna jump back maybe 3 or 4 times. We're gonna do the basic combo, like so. So if they're already here at the wall, doing 1, 2, 3 into LFS forward 3 will only yield the +1 damage. So you wanna maximize that. So if you have the wall right over there, and they're already close to it, the move you're gonna want to remember is 3-3-2. This is your wall ender. Anytime they're at the wall, let's say you even launch them at the wall, you wanna just do 3-3-2 right off the gate. We're not even gonna bother ourselves with the extra damage on the tornado at the wall, because yeah, you could do something like this. We're gonna ignore that for now, at a basic level. As soon as you get this, if you launch them at the wall, or if you splat them at the wall, that's what you wanna do. 3-3-2. That was a lot. That was a lot to cover at a basic level. I hope it made sense, because that was as basic as I could make it. And I'm pretty sure that could become even more basic. So take notes and just get comfortable with remembering, you know, the number of moves you need to know per stance. And of course, like a basic combo. Now, this basic guide or starter kit, whichever way you want to call it, is not the end-all be-all. There's a lot to Hwoarang than meets the eye, given that he has a humongous move list. I mean, this is 156 moves. And there's even other moves that are still not on this move list, like fox stepping and stuff like that, so it gets even longer. I'm sorry. This is the character you're going to play, so if you're prepared for that, cool. Again, progress is subjective, so don't worry about it if someone else is learning it faster than you. What matters is, are you able to remember what to do when certain moves connect? And if you remember like your flow, and if like a heat engager connects, what am I supposed to press right afterwards? Do I have the basic combo down? Stuff like that. So the better you get and the more you remember stuff and the more comfortable you are with Hwoarang, You will be upgrading this basic kit as you go along. And with all the in-depth guides videos that do get simplified into like 20 minutes along the way. So again, feel free to subscribe to that. Woo! Again, I've been Frontier. I'll see you next time.